Hello, continents. This is Geralt of Rivia, and I am here to introduce to you the one and only Daniel Chapel. Enjoy.
Voice.ai.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. You're with me, Daniel Chapel, for more Witcher tabletop RPG content. Today we're gonna take a few steps, many steps back actually, and introduce the whole Arthurian Games library of what you can purchase to get yourself up and running for the Witcher campaigns of, starting up your game, starting up your character, whatever you need to do. We're going to go through the books one by one. I'm going to try to do them as published in order. However, we're going to try our best, okay? We're going to try our best. It's a video on trying. By the way, if you enjoyed the AI voice that you heard of me pretty much introducing myself in Geralt's voice, I know, corny, but still cool, you can go ahead in the description below and find the link, which is Voice.ai, and pretty much get your own copy for your PC. This is something that is really cool to use on Discord. If you, like me, when I'm running my sessions, I want to manipulate my voice. Now, I'm not exactly a voice actor. I can kind of do different voices as we go along, and it's kind of live as we go. But sometimes there are other pitch voices you really, really want to have some kind of soundboard to do it for you and manipulate your voice accordingly. This is the app to do it. Check it out. Let me know in the comments below what you think of it. Most importantly, subscribe and like before we continue. And let's get into today's video where we're going to be presenting each book and what content you can find. You don't want to spend any money. You want to know what The Witcher is all about, but you don't want to spend any money. You're not sure whether you want to invest into a system. You're not quite sure what it does, how it works, so on and so forth. There's a few videos you've watched, but you're not quite sure. You want to kind of try it out yourself. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to get The Witcher Easy Mode, which is the introduction book to The Witcher tabletop RPG. Now, in this book, you're going to find yourselves in a very basic setting of what the system does, how to read the character sheet. You have pre-made characters to choose from. You have the basic stuffs of what is a skill, what is a success, what's a failure, and you kind of can run this. It's good for both players and GM alike. It kind of goes through combat in a very simplistic way. I love the combat in the easy mode. I kind of make use of this more than what's in the core rulebook, which we'll get to in a minute, simply because it is very basic and very dumbed down in a way. Doesn't mean it's not number crunchy for a system, but it kind of does the job for you if you want to get up and running into the system. It tells you how to use magic, how casting spells works, and so forth. How crafting works should you wish to use this in your setting. So it gives you very basic components on how to craft and so forth. GM advices, this is good throughout. If you're starting GM, this is what you kind of want to go through. And it also has its own mini session, one shot. So sorry, it's not really a campaign. So you get to go through this. It includes a map, it includes a story, it includes the stats that you need for the different type of monsters you'll be running into it. And that's pretty much it. It's a very short book of 32 pages, very quick to go through, just to get yourself familiarized with the system. Once you're happy and you want to start saying, okay, let's go into the core of it, and you want to start running your own little sessions and you want to get to building a character and so forth, this is where we go to the core rulebook. Now, the core rulebook is 337 pages worth of content. It goes into the introduction of the world of The Witcher, and it doesn't waste any time. It's all, by the way, the fun part is it's all from Rodolphe Casmer's perspective. All this kind of italic text is him bringing his idea of, well, his perspective of the world and the game itself, I guess. So, yeah, Recent history brings you up to the game version of The Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, and has just moments before The Witcher 3 starts. So when they were creating the game, Witcher 3 was not yet out, and in fact most of the artwork is from Witcher 1 and 2 and from Gwent, I believe. So yeah. And then we have the iconic characters, where you can play as Geralt of Rivia, and you have the stats already provided here of Geralt of Rivia, and this is Rodolph's version of his introduction to Geralt, Yennefer, Dandelion, Zoltan. You can play these characters, by the way. They're pre-made characters for something that you want to run. You know, you have Leto. And then finally, you have what we all have been watching, if you've been watching my videos, that is, how to create your character, how to pick your race, and so forth. In this book, you are given the following. You are given the Witcher, the elves, the dwarves, and humans as races. So that's 4 races to choose from the core book. You get to run your own life path to see how you came about, what you're doing, what you've been through before you start your adventure. Kind of like rolling your backstory, so to speak. Then you go into your profession, which you have the bard, the craftsman, criminal, doctor, mage, man-at-arms, merchant, priest, and witcher. So that's a total of, if I'm counting correctly, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 professions. Technically, there's like 10, because the priest can subcategorize into a druid in this book once you go into choosing your magical perks. So yeah, then it tells you how you put in your skills and so forth. Then you have the gear. So you have on the road, this is like your starting gear that you kind of want. Gives you a bit of an idea how much coin you start with in a campaign. You either go for the average or you actually calculate it. How different currencies work in the world, selling goods, and so forth. So that's the gear. And then you have magic. Magic, you find everything from the spells you can cast, the dangers, the training. It's pretty much your spell book right here. And then you go for crafting. Once again, for a craftsman, this is brilliant because it tells you how to craft things, the components you need, and it's a pretty thick book. It's a GM book / player book. It's got everything you need. Then you go into combat, and combat is quite heavy in this one compared to the easy mode. So in combat, it goes into the critical wounds, the fighting monsters, fighting with magic, combat rounds, initiative. So this is something you want to go into in depth, because again, it's quite number crunchy as a game, but once you get into the flow of it, you can pretty much get a good kick out of the combat here, especially when it comes to like excessive wounds, bonus tables, threshold tables, and so forth. If you want to build a specific tactic, it tells you how to do so, and so forth. Anyways, so then we go into the world of The Witcher. You have an idea. You've kind of played The Witcher. You've not completed the games. You have an idea of the main things from the books, or so forth. But this one gives you more detail. Gives you the north and gives you kind of like this drawn map here. Redania, what's in the north, Adrian, Temeria, and so forth. I'm using so forth. I'm being self-conscious now. I'm using so forth a lot. So you have the world there. And then you have the Game Master's Guide, which goes into how to run a session. It kind of gives you a prep up of how to run your games. So it's all about how to run. The Witcher is specific here. As it says, it's not an epic fantasy at all. It's very gritty, very dark. So there's no real hero in the game. It's moral dilemmas, and that's the way it should be played. So it's like, out of both evils, the lesser evil, which one do you choose, or do you not choose at all? How to run encounters. So this is what you find in core rule books. I'm just trying to get through this as quickly as possible, and then it goes into the Witchers. Now, obviously, as a race slash profession, you have your own life path as a Witcher, so you don't follow the one in the character creation per se. And then you have this is a whole thing just for the Witcher itself. This is the Witcher gear. And then we're going into relics, which is quite interesting. Relics are these important pieces of artifacts, be it a weapon, be it a staff that has made it through history. They are very OP. You should not be giving these out lightly as a game master. So yeah, they're quite powerful. They have their own story to them. So if you want to kind of grab one and run a story from it, you can. But I wouldn't just give these out. It just happens to be lying around in the continent, right? As you can see, knowing about these, because some of them are even lost to history, difficulty checks are quite high to know what they are or where they come from. So that's something. In fact, there we go. Like this particular silver sword has an education of 22, meaning it's quite difficult to get an understanding of where it came from or the history behind it. Which then brings you to the beastry. It brings you pretty much all the type of beasts. You have a number of monsters you could choose from. There's quite a selection. So you can choose that. So you're going to be using like bandits a lot, and you have the stats of the bandits and how they work technically. You have your own mages, and you have your own Scoia'tael. Specifically, it seems to Archer. And then you go into the monsters, drowners, and so forth. Anyways, I'm not going to go through all of that. And then last but not least, you have a quest. This is a lengthy quest. It's so it can be run as a one shot, but I think it can get lengthy into a kind of a two shot situation where you might run this in two games. But it gives you an additional something to run, something to start with, and it's a nice piece of story to run. Gives you a good feel of the world, good feel of, even for a GM, get an idea of the mechanics and get you running there. And it gives you other stats relevant, the map for it. So it's a pretty handy book, and then you get your character sheet all the way in the back to fill in. You can just go ahead and pretty much photocopy this or find one free online from their website. So yeah, and then obviously you get into the index, and that's pretty much what you have. You have something about Cody, who is the initial creator of this content, and his wife. So yeah, that's pretty much the core rule book, which is the thing you need definitely to start running or playing The Witcher. Now, after that, they came out with an expansion book, which was the Lords and Lands, shortly after, I believe. And in this one, it comes with let's see. So, People of the Continent. So, it gives a bit more idea of artisans, criminals. These are kind of an additional few monsters, entertainers, laborers. So you have a bit more to run with here. Merchant, if you want to know the stats of a merchant. If you have murder hobos and they're trying to fight a merchant is not just this NPC one-hit kill. They're going to have something to hit back. And scholars. So they have their own stats in this. And then we have ourselves a new race, Halfling. So out of the 4 from the core book, you get an additional one in this one, a Halfling, and then you also get a new profession. This is the 11th technical, or well, 10th really, but 11th technical profession, which is the noble. I find this quite interesting. If you're not running a campaign where you as a noble makes sense in it, I mean, they're pretty useless unless you put value into nobles in your campaign, or they're kind of an important part of what you're running. And then you have the noble skill tree, and then it kind of explains about the estate because it's part of the noble thing. And then we have Rodolph's wagon, which is what he's selling on the road. Rodolph is a dwarven guy, a dwarven merchant, and he's gonna come around and he's gonna try to sell you stuff. So yeah, and that's pretty much what it comes with. This thing over here is what your game master screen would look like, and you have stats inside of it. So this is what this book comes out with. Shortly after, we had the Book of Tales, and this is where you're gonna start running pre-made adventures. Now in the Book of Tales, we have 1, 2, 3, let's go actually table of contents. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 different stories which you can either run as one-shots, or you can go ahead, actually hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sorry, because Book of Tales is not an adventure, it's in itself. So yeah, you have 6 adventures which you can run as one-shots, as I was saying, or you can run it as a coherent campaign. So you start from underneath the ice into the other Elderwood Stone Cold Lines and keep going forward like that. So you can pretty much run it through like that. So those are the 6 adventures you can run. You have new weapons. You have also a new race, 2 new races actually. You have the Van Eldrin's Gale and sorry, that's actually says some kind of component or weapon. What is it? Okay. Oh, it's new spells, it seems, of sorts. Yeah, new spells. Cool. I wonder if there's anything. I didn't even realize that they're, but yeah, they're journeyman. They're not your starter stuff. Anyways, I digress. Gnome, it is a new race you can run, and Vran, which are like lizard folk, and pretty much you can run those. Oh, and we have werebubs, so that's 3 new races that you can choose from. So we went from the initial 4 races to an additional 1. Now we have another 3 that's already bringing races up to 8 races you could choose from once you have all these books, which is pretty cool. And then we have an updated version of Dandelion, as Dandelion sees himself. Roll eyes like, come on, Dandelion, no way. This is really you. But hey, I mean, if you want to run this version of Dandelion, where is this epic hero, sure, why not? And that pretty much concludes that book. And then we have The Witcher's Journal, which is this one right here. Now, The Witcher Journal, really and truly, it has very interesting history about the first Witchers. There's a lot of interesting stories about how the Witchers came to be, how the Witchers ended up in different schools, the falling of the Witchers, the creation of the Trial of the Grasses, how that came to be, why there are male Witchers and not female Witchers. It goes into all this extension stuff, which, by the way, if it's not from the creator himself or from CD Projekt Red, I don't consider it canon, but once these guys kind of put it in writing, I consider it somewhat canon to it. So anything that is being run on the side, is not something I would consider. And the fact that this one put it in there as why females can't be witchers is simply because the grasses pretty much killed them off. They were not strong enough to go through the Trial of the Grasses. It goes into much detail, explanation, so I'm not going to get into it. But again, if you want to run as a female Witcher, the one that managed to succeed, go ahead, make a backstory how this was like mind-blowing, a situation of like, wow, we managed. Maybe, the school of the Viper managed to find a way because they, screwed around with the mutagens in a way that makes sense. But overall, The Witcher's Journal is a extension to the core rulebook of Beastries. It goes into necrophages, it goes into beasts, cursed ones, and their stats. So we're looking here at the monsters, and then we have a bit of a story that's they put in as flavor text. So it's quite interesting. What is also found in this book is more components, which is quite good, and mutagens, which are pretty interesting because as a Witcher, you can add on mutations as you go along to pretty much enhance your skills, enhance whatever you need, and you have the minor mutation, which can be physical or otherwise. So it's pretty interesting. And then it goes into investigation. So this is how one would run an investigation, and created a whole subsection of how one can create an investigation, how to roll for investigation and break it down and so forth. It goes into quite a few details. It's a bit extra, a bit hefty, more they added more rules to situations, but I think you could kind of use this in particular situations, which makes sense. Over here, instead of giving us a story to run, a one shot, they just went ahead and presented us with these contracts, which I guess it should inspire you as a DM to write your own session. So you kind of grab a contract and say, okay, this looks interesting, and you place it into your sessions, your world. And then after a long time waiting, we finally get the last book published to date, which is the Tome of Chaos, which is very magic related, magic heavy. It doesn't give us too much in relation to a new... It gives us a lot of new spells. It gives us better understanding. It gives us a new tree line. It gives us a new... what am I looking for? Good lord. There we go. Life path. That's what I'm looking for. So, you know how The Witcher in the core book has his own life path completely? In this one, it gives the mage a complete different life path. How one becomes a mage, what school you've been through, how you were enrolled, and so forth. I guess this is where they officially made the druid its own class that separates itself from the priest. Finally. So if we scroll down over here, you have the druid profession, and you have your own druid stats, which is not found anywhere else but in this book. So I'm really happy to see the druid profession as its own thing. So this means this would be officially now the 11th profession in the Witcher TTRPG. So you have the druid skill tree, and so forth. And it goes into more spells, more components of chaos. It gives you places of power. It gives you 2 new Witcher signs, which are like hybrids of sorts. And my favorite part is the dark arts. Finally we get something like necromancy that we could go into, how to resurrect spirits and so forth. So this is not something you want to mess with. As you can see, the stamina costs are quite high. So this is something you're going to do at a master level and so forth. So it's not something you're dabbling with from the get-go, but eventually you want to do it. There's mutations. It gives more explanation on how mutation actually works. Different mutagens, and creating your own beasts, I guess, if you want to be like, the creation of Frankenstein. So yeah, you have additional traits. It's pretty heavy book, 218 pages. So yeah, dealing with demons, benefits you get from that. So it really starts covering quite a bit. So yeah, I believe... Yeah, here we go. Yeah, there's a lot of... What are these? Goat skins. Little story. And then we have pre-made characters, iconic characters in the Witcher world, whether it's the game or the books. So You have Deadeye, for example. You have Katfan. You have Dormian. I don't know if you know who these characters are, but very hard to actually pronounce them. But you have quite a bit. Okay, Francesca. Who doesn't know Francesca? You know, Dreistan from Nazir, Frangilla, sorry, Istred, Kiera Metz, Margarita, Philippa. So you get these main characters, and there's a lot. There's a lot of pre-made characters you can use, or their stats off if you want to kind of drop an important NPC that is renowned in the world, And then we have, after a long time, a new one-shot. It's a pretty lengthy one-shot. It is specifically made for a magic users only campaign kind of thing. It's very heavy around magic once you get through it. It doesn't mean that you can only be magic users, but you need at least 1 or 2 magic users to run this smoothly. Otherwise, you're going to end up with problems. And as you can see, it's quite a lengthy one. So it's not kind of something you cover in one session. Might be 3 sessions overall. You never know. I mean, it looks pretty lengthy to me. So yeah. And that's pretty much all the books, guys. I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at. Oh yeah, and we have new beasts in it too. Bess, which is this ugly thing right here. Cascade. Oh, that looks horrendous. Corpse Amalgam. Now that's interesting. I'm pretty sure you've seen beasts very similar to this in other things. A Great Bear is another thing. Living Armor, which is quite interesting because this already exists as a stat in the Book of Tales, but they differentiate a bit. This seems a bit more complex compared to that one because this is animated, right? It's living armor. The other one was kind of animated armor by, well, I'm going to spoil it, but by Hair. So it's a bit different one from the other. Mary Lloyd, this is a freaky one. So yeah, pretty freaky things. You have new mutanages, new components, and then we go back to the index and advertising other books, advertising other systems, and so forth. And that pretty much leaves us with the last book that was published. Now, you might be telling me, is that all that there is? No, if you go onto their website, you will actually find more content, more free content from their website. So if you just bear with me a moment, let me get that up for you. So once you're on their website, the Witcher TTRPG, you can buy the books, as you can see. I think they're reasonable prices, especially the core rule book, since you have so much in there. But you can also buy the relevant dice, which are 2d10s and 6d6s, is what you pretty much need for the game. So if we go into the home and we go into the RPG section, the catalog maybe? No. Where is it? Alrighty, there we are. So if we go to our talsoriangames.com/category/the-Witcher, you will have these what they call DLCs, which pretty much are free downloadable contents. You have how to run taverns and inns, how to charge clients, travelers on the road, you get different mounts and so forth. Monsters on the road, this is interesting. Okay. I don't think I have this one. It's a good thing we're talking. Let's go ahead and get that book. So, okay. So it leads me to the download section, and I just have to find the Witcher. So, here we are. So Witcher character sheet is there, printer friendly version. So useful gear, crossbow upgrades, potions, mundane potions. They have all these free contents. Witcher schools, you have the Manticore and the Snail school. Character options, which is a peasant. This is a profession, believe it or not. The peasant profession. It was an April's Fool. But it is still usable. If you want to use it, you can go ahead and do that. So I believe this is the one that I don't think I have. So if I just download it. Oh, all right. More monsters. What do you know? Let's go ahead and download that. Sorry, the screen is a bit weird. All right, that fixed it. So, yeah, as you can see, different monsters that one can use to add to your beastry. It gives you 3 new monsters. I like. I'm guessing Alpa's yeah, she's a vampire of sorts. So, all right. So yeah, you go ahead and you, if you want, I'll leave a link down in the description to actually get all of this. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Kind of goes over what different books there are, what you can go for. Even if it's just a core rulebook and you download the extra content that's free, the DLCs that they call them, I think it's going to be pretty interesting to run your own sessions and so forth. I hope this was helpful. If you have any requests, feel free to write them down in the comment. If you like what I do, subscribe, press that like button on the video, share it with your friends who need a helping hand with running The Witcher or getting to understand some form of mechanic or how to create a character, so forth. In the meantime, travel well in the continent.